Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I want to talk about episode 8 of The Last of Us. Before I say anything, I need to apologize for dropping this video late. It should have come out yesterday, but I had some other errands I had to run, so I couldn't make this video yesterday. So I'm dropping it today. So without further ado, let's get into the video. This episode basically shows us how Ellie has learned to own her survival instinct. She thinks that if she ends up alone in this world without Joel, she will not be able to survive and things will go crazy for her. But in this episode, we saw that even if she's the only one, she might not last as long as she might necessarily want to last. But because of everything that Joel has taught her and all the skills she has owned, everything she has learned from Joel, she will still be able to last longer than she would normally last. And so seeing her survive, seeing her go about this episode, owning her shit and just being in control and doing what she needed to do on this episode was something I loved seeing. Seeing Ellie in all those situations and being able to own herself and just being competent in those situations was something that really stood out to me and I loved seeing. And this episode had some tense things to it, some tense moments that was just like made me on the edge of my seat thinking what was going to happen with these characters, and just seeing how the characters were going about and doing everything they had to do to survive in this episode was just another thing that made me appreciate the world they are in. Like, if you can't survive in this world, there's no point in being in this world. And seeing Ellie, she's a little girl, she's about, I think she's about 14, she's a teenager, but seeing a teenager be able to survive and have those kind of instincts, survival instincts, to be able to survive in this world was just something so beautiful to see. And Bella Ramsey's performance as Ellie just made Ellie a more believable or relatable character, and it's just so good to see. There's something I always talk about anytime I'm talking about this show, and this episode also reinforces it. There is a danger of, I've said this before so many times, but I'm still going to say it. There's a danger of the infected, the threats that everyone knows about. But those are not the biggest threats. The huge threats, the main threat, the real monsters are humans. And I loved seeing it. I love that humans are the ones that are the real threat. We've seen different factions of people, different groups of people that have been coming with their own different problems, and there are different sets of bad guys. Now seeing this faction in this episode, this group of people in this episode, you're now seeing a different kind of evil, and it just makes me appreciate this crazy world so much. Like, it's a world filled with infected humans that just want to turn you to one of them and turn you to a mindless zombie. It's filled with things like that. But humans are the worst creatures. Like, you see the things that humans do, it just makes you realize, if this world goes to shit, if our own world as it is goes to shit, just forget about whatever caused the shit. The real problems will be with humans. And it's just so realistic. I'm smiling as I'm saying this because it's a topic that fascinates me a lot. Like, humans are very fascinating creatures, honestly. To be able to have a very big problem like this and to just forget about it and do how they feel like doing and be the monsters they choose to be on their own, of their own making, is just honestly fantastic storytelling. And I'm loving what they are doing with this story, and I love this aspect of this story, these people, this group of people. I don't spoil anything for anyone, but this group of people that are involved in this episode, well, I think they made this episode even feel much more terrifying and more intense, because you know that if these people get their way, it's not going to end very well for our characters. Normally, it will never ever end well for our characters in every situation they've been in. But in this particular situation, if these people had their way with our characters, man, no one wants to be in that kind of situation. So seeing it and seeing our characters were able to, especially Ellie's survival instinct, and seeing Joel also. Joel wanted to do everything to find her, even though he had an injury and was not fully 100%. The love he had for Ellie and the length he would go to survive and to get to save Ellie and to protect Ellie was just something that made me appreciate this episode. Before the show came out, I have heard stuff about The Last of Us game, but I have not played the game before. But I'm so glad I haven't played the game, because if I had played the game and I'm watching the show now, I would have known a lot of things that had to come, and it would have just been like, I'm waiting for things to happen, things that I know are going to happen. I'm just waiting for them to happen. But because I have not played the game before, I don't know what to expect. So I go into the episode blind, just hoping to get my mind blown. And man, every episode, my mind is always getting blown, kind of things I'm always seeing in this show. Like, there are no holds barred, and this show just goes all out with everything. And it's just so amazing to watch. Honestly, Mondays have become my favorite days, because it's Mondays I get to watch The Last of Us, and seeing it every Monday is something that just makes the rest of my week feel so much better, because experiencing the world of The Last of Us and seeing how bleak and how crazy that world is just makes my own world feel so much better, as it is not as dramatic and as bleak and as sad as that world is. So just seeing that every Monday makes my own week feel so much better, honestly, and I love seeing it. And this is the penultimate episode. I can't wait to see the last episode, and after the last episode that'll be it for now, and to just go back to making me sad. Like, this is what HBO does to me with House of the Dragon. When House of the Dragon ran every Sunday, Mondays were also my favorite days of the week during the run of House of the Dragon, because it's Monday I get to see it and I talk about it. And when that show ended, I was sad. My Mondays went back to being just boring old Monday, and now again it's going to go back to it after next week's episode. But at the same time, it has been a fantastic run, and it's something that just keeps me hooked and makes me want to see the next episode. And I'm glad I followed this run. If you are not watching The Last of Us, if you've not seen The Last of Us, honestly, you are really missing out on it. You should definitely do yourself a favor and check it out. And with the way this episode ended on a very emotional note, and just seeing the way it ended with our characters just being together in each other's arms and just walking away like the life has gone out of them, is just something that just made my heart melt so much, because these guys have gone through so much, and for them to still be standing, it just fills me with so much joy, honestly. And I'm so glad. This show just, it makes me get really emotional, honestly. It's been long since I watched a show that made me get really emotional. I think the last show I saw that made me really emotional, that got me in my feels so much, was Ted Lasso. If you've not seen Ted Lasso, you should also check that show out. In the last season of Ted Lasso, towards the last episodes, they just kept going for the art, going for my art, and it was just like, wow, why is people doing this to me? So it got really emotional, and it was so touching. And that's how I feel now watching The Last of Us. It's so emotional seeing how all these things are happening, playing out. But it's also very good storytelling and fantastic filmmaking, and I'm so glad I'm enjoying the story as it's unfolding. So have you guys seen this episode of The Last of Us? What did you think about it? Comment below and let me know. And if this is your first time on my channel, what are you still doing now? Please subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. Thank you for sticking up to this time. See you in the next video. Cheers.